Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. It's absolutely wild to think about, but between 1967 and 1971, the modern game of football experienced this massive evolutionary leap. In just a magical 4-year window, the entire tactical philosophy of the sport as we know it was completely forged.
To really understand this revolution, we have to start with an incredible underdog story. Picture this, a squad made up entirely of local boys, all born literally within a 30-mile radius of their home stadium. We're talking about the Celtic squad of 1967. They definitely weren't high-priced international transfers. They were homegrown talents who utterly shattered expectations, proving that raw stamina and local pride could take down the absolute giants of Europe. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The Lisbon Lions roar. 2. Bobby the Buzzbomb Linux. 3. Forging a band of brothers. 4. The 1971 tactical shift. 5. The total football revolution. And finally, 6. The legacy of legends. Section 1. The Lisbon Lions roar. That dramatic 1967 European Cup final was the ultimate clash of styles. You had the relentless attacking spirit of Celtic going up against the defensive giants of Inter Milan down in Lisbon, Portugal. When we map out European dominance across these years, a really clear progression emerges. It kicks off in 1967 when Celtic defeats Inter Milan to crack their famous defense. That dominance rolls right through their domestic play, like in 1969 when they absolutely demolished Rangers 4-0. And the whole era culminates in 1971 when Ajax defeats Panathinaikos to claim the European Cup. Just consider the sheer physical reality of that 67 final for a second. Inter Milan was world famous for catenaccio, this highly organized, intensely rigid defensive system, but Celtic just dismantled it. And how did they do it? With relentless, lung-bursting stamina, manager Jock Stein simply told his attackers to keep on moving. By the end of the match, a total meltdown was minutes away. The Italian defenders were utterly shattered after chasing shadows for 85 minutes before Celtic finally scored the winning goal. And to show you just how wonderfully grounded these guys were, you've got to hear about Celtic forward Bobby Lennox's post-match priorities. When that final whistle blew, he immediately hugged his nearest teammate, John Clark, just yelling like a school kid. But then panic set in. He realized he needed to sprint all the way back to Ronnie Simpson's net, grab his false teeth right out of the goalkeeper's cap, and pop them in so he could smile for the cameras. It's such a hilarious, humanizing detail that really captures the spirit of this legendary squad. Section 2. Bobby the Buzzbomb Linux. He was, without a doubt, the ultimate symbol of this high-paced, relentless era of Celtic football. Now, there is a staggering number we need to talk about. 277. That is the total amount of goals Bobby Lennox scored for Celtic across 571 appearances. This phenomenal tally makes him the club's second highest scorer of all time, sitting just behind the great Jimmy McGrary. The man was an absolute goal machine. And then there's the number 11. That's how many league titles he won during his time at Celtic, playing a huge part in their historic 9-in-a-row run. That ties him with Alec McNair for the most championship medals in the club's entire history. Just amazing. His teammate Bertie Auld once said, Bobby would chase a paper bag on a windy day. Which is pretty funny, but it totally hits the nail on the head regarding his identity as the Buzz Bomb. He was just built for speed. He had this totally unselfish drive and an energy that terrorized opposing defenses for 90 minutes straight. Section 3. Forging a band of brothers. Because let's be real, you don't just wake up one day with the stamina to outrun the best teams in Europe. That incredible camaraderie and physical endurance had to be actively built behind the scenes. Their secret weapon? The 1966 American Tour. Big Jock Stein took the guys away for 5 weeks of intense bonding across North America. They played 11 matches in sweltering heat against top-tier teams like Spurs and Bayern Munich. And Bobby Lennox? He scored 19 goals on this tour alone. This was not a vacation. It was a crucible. That exhausting tour forged the unbreakable, almost telepathic team spirit that carried them to European glory the very next year. They truly learned to fight for each other. And the philosophy driving the whole operation came straight from Jock Stein. He said, we mustn't look to the past, at the legends who have gone before us. We must build our own legends. It's such a powerful mindset, and it's exactly what transformed a group of local boys from Ayrshire and Glasgow into undeniable sporting icons. Moving on to Section 4, the 1971 tactical shift. We're going to jump ahead here to introduce the next major evolutionary leap in European football.
When you contrast these two eras, the shift is massive. In '67, Celtic took apart defenses with pure pace and stamina. But by 1971, a whole new system had arrived. It wasn't just about outrunning the opponent anymore. It was about outthinking them through fluid positional interchange. Brains and highly technical systems were officially joining the brawn.
Section 5. The Total Football Revolution. Let's dig into manager Rinus Mikkel's legendary Ajax squad and their monumental 1971 European Cup final clash at Wembley against the Greek underdogs Panathinaikos. So let's break down what this actually means. Total football is a fluid tactical system characterized by constant positional interchange, maximizing player versatility, and technical dominance. Basically, any outfield player could step into the role of any other player on the pitch. The absolute linchpin here was the legendary Johan Cruyff, operating as a false nine. He would drop deep into the midfield, pulling those rigid defenders completely out of their zones and creating just acres of space for his teammates. It was an absolute nightmare to defend against. The 1971 final gives us this fascinating strategic juxtaposition. On one side, you've got Ajax running their highly fluid 4-3-3 offense. On the other side, Panathinaikos. Managed by the Hungarian legend Ferenc Puskás, this gritty, all-amateur Greek squad relied on a very pragmatic 4-4-2 defense. Their whole plan was to absorb the pressure and hit back hard on the counterattack. The match itself took place at Wembley in front of a massive crowd of 83,179 people. And Ajax wasted no time at all. Just 5 minutes in, Dick Van Dijk buries a header to put the Dutch side up 1-0. To their credit, Panathinaikos put up a really resilient fight, just absorbing wave after wave of Ajax attacks. But eventually, the fluid passing was just too much, and Ari Hahn sealed the win in the 87th minute. That 2-0 victory locked in Ajax's very first European Cup. And finally, Section 6, Legacy of Legends. Let's pull all these historical threads together and look at the monumental impact this era had on the sport. So, here is the evolutionary leap in 2 steps. Step 1, dismantling rigid defenses with relentless stamina, just like Celtic proved in 1967. And Step 2, mastering fluid positional interchange and technical dominance, which Ajax perfected by 1971. Now, why does this matter to us today? Well, when you turn on your TV this weekend to watch the top clubs in the world, you are quite literally watching the direct descendants of Celtic and Ajax. The possession-based, high-pressing football that dominates today was born entirely within this exact 4-year historical window. It's wild to think about because today's game is defined by billion-dollar global transfer markets and super teams built from infinite wealth. Looking back at what the local boys of Celtic and the homegrown system of Ajax managed to achieve, it really forces us to ask, with modern football defined by billion-dollar transfers, will we ever see a tactical revolution driven by a band of local boys again?